I try to like juggle it all.
Yeah, juggling it all. I love to talk about that as well. That's basically one of the things that I'm passionate about. I'm just very intentional about my time. I'm very intentional about managing it and making sure that each day is productive, including making sure I have time for resting and for breaks as well. But it was scary, when I took that very first leap of faith of leaving corporate.
Well, this is Andrea from OurDayDream back again. We have an awesome guest this week. Her name is Nrgy. She is a self-mastery coach and the owner of Nrgy Speaks Life. Nrgy is a speaker, a life and relationship coach, a mediator, and an author. She teaches and demonstrates that when you master your emotions, you master your assignment. If you like this podcast, hit subscribe because we have an awesome guest coming up every week. Without further ado, here is Nrgy.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Not too bad.
Good
How
stuff.
are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm excited for whatever we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, it seems like what you do is what I've been through. So we have a lot to talk about.
Sounds good.
I always like to dig into like what's your story that brought you to coaching, being a speaker, being an author.
Okay. So my story, or how did I get started into becoming a coach, a speaker, and an author? Basically, life. What happened was I went through quite a few things in life, from going through a marriage, then a divorce, from having to deal with that whole single parenting slash co-parenting dynamic, from then being a single parent and trying to navigate working a 9 to 5 job, and that not always being something that's where the boss or the managers or the company itself, where they're being understanding with maybe my availability, or just with certain things that I may have needed, or may have required, even outside of anyone else who was there who didn't have a kid, who didn't have a
Yeah.
child. And then going from there and making the decision of, okay, let me take that leap of faith into becoming a small business owner, or just a business owner in general, or becoming an entrepreneur, because that seemed to match better with what my needs were. And then all of that tied together with just my faith in God, and understanding that there was always this extra pull on me and on my life, or even a push to get me to go somewhere else versus where I currently was. And I pretty much say, with the coaching, even the mediation, being a speaker, being an author, it's basically me answering that calling that God put on my life, understanding that this is my assignment, and I basically made a decision to take it on, and to take it on full time.
Wow.
And it ended in me now currently being able to say that I have discovered my purpose, and I'm actually walking in my purpose now.
That's incredibly scary.
Very.
Yeah, because God put that on my heart one time too, but I was like, okay, so money or uncertainty, and being a single mother, I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, God," like, and so I try to like juggle it all.
Yeah, juggling it all. I love to talk about that as well. That's basically one of the things that I'm passionate about, is knowing how to manage those minutes and the hours in each day. So many people, just throughout my journey of being an entrepreneur, like I've always had multiple hats, always wearing multiple hats at one
Yeah.
time, or always having multiple streams of income coming in. And outsiders, or even friends and even family, they would say, how are you doing it all? How are you maintaining and making it all happen? And the simple answer is, oh, I'm just very intentional about my time. I'm very intentional about managing it and making sure that each day is productive, including making sure I have time for resting and for breaks as well. But it was scary, when I took that very first leap of faith of leaving corporate and going into being an entrepreneur. That was really scary, but I helped subside those feelings by making a plan and being patient. So my timeline for my plan, it actually took me 2 years. And so
Got you.
with that, it allowed me to keep moving forward because I actually, made a plan and I stuck to it. And when the time came for me to say, okay, goodbye, I was prepared and ready
I
to go.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes, yeah. Yeah, like there was that initial moment where like it was put on your heart, and then that was like the preparation time until it was like, all right, so God's ready for me now. Like I feel like confident enough to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about your book.
So it's actually it's an audio coaching program. So it's a CD, and where you're able to listen to me take you through the 7 keys of what I have researched and what I believe are the answers to help you discover or achieve the life of your dreams. So it's called What's Your Passcode? Keys to Accessing the Life of Your Dreams. And it takes you through such topics as self awareness or self control, generosity, the importance of generosity, and the part that it plays in your life, and you becoming basically the best version of yourself. It talks about productivity and time management. It talks
Yeah,
about controlling your emotions and not letting your emotions control you. It teaches you how to discover your gifts, your talents, and your skills, and how to apply them in your life, and then how to use all of that information to help you on along the journey of discovering your own purpose. So the author, the product that I am an author of, it basically is all about helping you become the best version of yourself and finding ultimate fulfillment.
got you. Yeah, I'm really just absolutely terrible with time management. I feel like I've always been, and I kind of label myself sometimes. I'm like, you're just like really disobedient. Like you just don't like you're like a, like a dog that just doesn't like to listen. And I just like, and it really does. It wrecks it. Like it puts so much havoc on my life because it's so uncertain. My movements are so uncertain because it's just like I'm winging it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, like I should do this now, that now. And then at the end of the day, you're kind of like, man, I should have done this, that, and the other, but if it really was that, you would really put some intention behind, like, what am I actually accomplishing that day and sticking to it? You could lay your head down the pillow that night and say, yeah, like I got that done. But how do you moderate between putting too much on the list and then getting overwhelmed?
so I'm all about balance and creating balance in your life. So I'm very intentional about, if I'm going to work hard, I'm going to rest hard as well. So I literally take a piece of paper. I wish I had a copy with me. I actually do. I may pull it out. But I literally take a piece of paper every day. I have what's called a daily action planner. And it's something that I use for myself personally, but it's also a tool that I use for my clients in coaching also. And what it is every day you set your intentions for that day as far as the different tasks that you need to complete. And I do time blocking. So I know during what parts of the day I will be working, what type of work I will be doing, and then what parts of the day will I take a break. So once I have it on paper, it makes it really easy. It's literally just creating the plan. And if I look at it and I say, okay, well, I have way too much work on here for today and not enough rest or not enough like me time, then I will kind of restructure some things in order to just still create that balance that I know I need for me.
Right. Yeah, that sounds way better than just like writing up a list and then you're like, man, like I need a rest, but I still got all this list to do.
You have a long list of just to-dos and it's like, man, where in here am I going to eat lunch? Where I'm going to take a break?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I've been there, so I get
And
it.
And then you have to pick too sometimes. Like you have to pick between, it's like, I really should go do something fun with my child. But it's like, man, I really like just need like a nap though. Like I'm tired.
Exactly. Yes. And if you're not, if you know, if people aren't intentional, if we are not intentional about our time and where we put our time, it'll just pass us by. We'll end
Yeah.
up prioritizing certain things over other things. Sometimes we'll
Hmm.
prioritize work over family. Using that example that you just mentioned, I used to do that as well. And after a while, that guilt started setting in. It's like, oh my gosh, like I can't keep putting time into these jobs that I'm working or into, doing all these other tasks or cleaning or whatever. And I'm not giving more or enough of that time to my child as well. So I kind of beat myself up for a little while, but I said,
Yeah.
you know what, let me stop and then let me just redo it and do it a different way. And so ever since then, because I now know that that feels better than the guilt, so I just started continuing to make sure that I am intentional about just making sure all areas that are important to me are getting the amount of time that they need.
Right. Cause I already feel that guilt too, because I'm the only disciplinarian. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm the only one to correct my children. So like since there's no break and it's only me, it's like, well, like, like it feels like you're always yelling at me or, griping at me. But at the same time, it's like, that's because I'm the only one. You know what I mean? Like there's no break in between that because there's nobody in between. So maybe I, yell at you every day for not doing the same thing. Like, and you do it every single day, or it doesn't even matter because it doesn't feel like I get that break to just be like the nurturing, loving one, because I always feel like I'm like trying to train them up in the way as well. So,
Yeah, been there as well, single parent. So,
yeah,
understanding exactly what you're talking about. One of the things that helped me was again just being very intentional about, okay, so if I had to do any sort of disciplining today, then I need to make sure that I'm balancing that out. Again, the key term for me is balance. So I need to make sure that I balance that out with now attention and focus and affection and love.
yeah,
So for just learn or try to find some sort of method to where if you do have to discipline your child or children, then also be very intentional about creating that other space, that other time and opportunity to love on them, to be affectionate, to just simply have that one-on-one time with them.
right. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
all like, but I don't like you now because you told me that I was wrong.
Yeah.
Like you told me that I was wrong and you're mean. So like, I don't want to have fun with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Like, leave me alone. Don't even talk to me. You're not my friend
Right.
anymore.
And
Yeah.
so I don't understand that either because it's just a different generation. Because whenever I was growing up, you know what I mean? Like I had it way harsher and still I understood. I'm like, man, I was really being a brat. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I either deserved it, I figured I deserved it, or um I just knew that they were the parents and I was the children. But
Yep.
I feel like in the single parent dynamic, since it's just you and them, they get so close to you that it's like not like a couple dynamic and then your kids, but they kind of get close to you to the aspect of where um like your friends, but even if you try not to be, you know what I mean? It's like, oh man, you really hurt my feelings though, mom, instead of like, you're my parent and you're telling me these things, you know?
Yeah, there is an art to it for sure. There is an art
Yeah,
to being a parent versus being not quite a friend, but being someone that your kids are comfortable around and
yeah,
feel that they can truly want to spend time with you and can enjoy spending time with you, even though you are their parent. There is an art to it, and it takes time, it takes patience, and it takes effort and communication from both sides. One of the things that helped me and my relationship with my child is making sure that that door of communication was open, and not parenting my child in a way of what I say is all it is, and don't say, I don't need to hear anything from you. Like,
Yeah.
no, let me hear what your thoughts are,
Right.
because children, they're, at the end of the day, they're human beings as well, period. They're human
Right.
beings. They have a voice, they have thought, they have their own thoughts, they have a mind of their own, and they need to be able to express and communicate what it is that they're thinking, what it is that they're feeling, in order for them to begin to understand all of those different dynamics of simply just being a human being, and with growing, and with everything else that they're dealing with, not to mention school, everything that's going on, in schools these days, the workload, and just the fear of if anything's going to happen, to the school this season, this year.
Yeah.
So one of the things that will absolutely help improve the situation or the relationship between parent and child is opening up that door for communication, being very
Yeah.
intentional, asking those questions, and just reassuring them, saying, hey, it's okay if you talk to me. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to blow up on you. I'm not going to dismiss your feelings.
Right.
And it may take them some time to trust what you say, and to
Yeah.
trust that you're not going to do that,
Right.
because they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But take the time and just put the time into doing it, and be very intentional. No matter if it takes months or a couple of years, you have to retrain them in learning the new way of how you're going to allow the relationship
Right.
between you and your child to take place.
Right. I had that issue, especially with my oldest son, because I was just like depression I had from like bad relationships. And he was just like, he never liked to listen to a word that I said. And so it's been taking a while to really gain that relationship back with him. But I owned it. And I think that a big problem with, adults even, and children, is like whenever parents try to proclaim perfection, or like, I got all the answers, or I know that, I know what I'm doing, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And I just kind of like relate to the kids, like humans, you know what I mean? Like they fall short, they go through some things. Like, here's the things that I learned along the way from all the bad things that I did, you know what I mean? And really giving them that wisdom. And it seemed to have really built a strong foundation in the kids, to where they're not going with the rest of the crowd, but they're doing their own thing, and they're really, good kids through it all. Though I didn't honestly deserve it, because, I went through all those years of depression. And um but they just stayed like that, because I think it was because I was honest with what it was. It was like, this isn't your fault that I'm like this right now. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that I'm going through, and I'm sorry that, you have to deal with this and stuff like that. But also, like, I just let them know, like, all the booby traps that I went through. And I remember my daughter, she's now almost 20, but she came to me, she'd be like, I tell my friends like this stuff because they put their self in a place. She's like, because their parents like never talked to them about this stuff, you know what I mean? And so, and I think that was like what really messed me up as a child too, is I wasn't really gaining any direction or wisdom. It was just always like, you're wrong and I'm right, like you're bad type of dynamic.
Yeah, and that definitely does create some sort of internal damage in kids, whether it be mentally or emotionally. It kind of stunts their emotional or mental growth.
Yeah.
And yeah, parents, we have to be really mindful of the things that we say, and just simply of our parenting style and parenting
Yeah.
skills. But especially with the words that we use, especially with the wording that we use.
Right. And I've also talked to like a lot of adults too. Is like, my parents were just perfect, and I can never live up to that. You know what I mean? So like, I think it's important to show kids that it's okay to feel, you know what I mean? But a good way to feel. Like it's all right to not have a good day today. Just to say, hey, I'm not having a good day today, and show like your kids by example, like this is how you deal with it. And it's just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean that that's the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow is going to be another day to start over, and things like that. I just really think that that's something that needs to happen, is that we really need to be like transparent with our kids because they're so smart. It's like they'll like, you'll try to hide something from them, so they'll tack on their own definition to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And try to figure it out in their own way, which is probably going to be something like identifying it's my fault, or this is I did this, you know what I mean? Rather than just being like, this is what's happening right now.
Exactly. Transparency is key. Being open and honest is key. And using as the parents, using the real life situations, whatever we're dealing with, whatever we're going through, using that as an opportunity to teach. Let
Yeah.
the kids see that, hey, okay, if I am feeling, if I'm not feeling so good today, or so happy today, then that's okay, because but I now know how to manage those feelings. I now know how to try to figure out, okay, well, why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? Instead
Right.
of going through this world as kids not knowing what to do with all of this information, all of the feelings that they have. If we're raising kids to be adults in this world, we have to teach them in real life situations. So I agree 100% with
How
what
to
you were
be
saying.
human. How to
Exactly.
be human. Yeah. Yeah. And like you could get all caught up in that too, of like just, oh, like I'm such an imperfect parent, and then just get caught up in that. And then that would take you into depression. But instead, just being like, maybe I didn't do the best today, but tomorrow's another opportunity to like make it up to my kids, to show them that, bad days do pass and things like that. And I've really been learning that, because especially after learning why I do the things that I do with my mind, stemming from childhood trauma, and really working through that and growing, you know, inside and emotionally and all that, and making all these changes, was that self compassion. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm tired right now, and that's okay. Yeah, like I'm overwhelmed right now, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to just come back to your room and just decompress a minute. You don't have to be go, go, go. Like,
Yes. Oh my gosh, you are speaking to my heart. Absolutely. Self compassion and just allowing yourself to breathe and to, like you
yeah,
said, decompress and just be.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because we try to be so superhuman. And I know for like a long time, and it still gets me now, it's like I'm not enough because it's only me. Like I only have enough hands, I only have enough energy, like I only have one of me. And I feel like that's insufficient. Sometimes that'll get the best of me. Like I do fight off that spirit, like you're doing a good job, and like the kids will remind me. But at the same time I'll get into that like you know what I mean? Like I wish there was more energy. Like I wish I had more energy to just be more than what I am right now. So I'm kind of like growing into that, just giving myself a little bit of compassion for being a human being and not always being 100.
Absolutely. The key to that is giving yourself some grace.
Yeah.
And one of the tools, one of the steps of being able to achieve everything that you were just listing off when you were saying, I wish there was more energy, I wish that there could be more, fill in the blank, is being intentional about your time each day. you know
Yeah.
Time management. The terminology can just seem so cliche, but it absolutely works wonders. It actually gives you more time. you still have the same 24 hours, but it gives you more of your time back
Yeah.
because you are now taking control of what you're going to do, what you're going to accomplish on this particular day, and the time that you're going to give yourself to relax, to breathe, to take a break,
Yeah.
to have fun with
It's
the kids.
beautiful.
And then you already know that you have task and room for your task on the next day. So it's okay if you don't complete everything right now on today, because you still have time allotted for it on tomorrow as well, and the next day as well. So definitely grace, giving yourself some grace.
Absolute. And even doing that, making sure that you're intentional to give yourself some rest. You'll have enough energy the next day to go full speed ahead to get your stuff done and then get a little bit more rest. And I love it.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that was something that I struggled with for a long time, even as most recently as maybe about 6 years now, I've gotten more intentional about it. But I used to be that person who would go to sleep late because it's like I still have so many things that I want to get done today before I lay down. And then I
Yeah.
still have to wake up early to, get to the school on time, get the little
Yeah.
one off to school on time. And that left me with sometimes 2, 3, no more than about 4 hours per night where I was actually getting some sleep. And I mentioned this in my audio program that I was a part of the hashtag Team No Sleep Club, where it's basically you're just hustling, you're
Oh,
grinding,
great.
you're just pushing, pushing, pushing. And I mentioned the fact that I actually had a physical crash on my living room floor. My body just eventually gave out.
Yeah.
And I lost track of a couple of hours. I had no idea where time went. When I woke up, I was like, what what's going on, I was
Right.
out of it. And so at that point I said, okay, enough is enough. I have to be better at this. I have to have some sort of stopping point. I have to have a cut off from my days between days. Like I cannot
Yeah.
just keep letting my days run into each other because it's not healthy. I
Right.
my body gave out. And
Yeah.
not to mention, how much, I was putting just on myself mentally as well. The
Right.
stress that I was possibly putting on myself with wanting to always have something done and trying to just blow out my day and
Right.
maximize it as much as possible, but not healthy. So I got intentional with that. Probably I kicked that in about 6 years ago, and I love rest. Like it feels so good to wake up in the morning and not struggle to like pull myself out of my covers. That's the
Right.
worst thing for me. The struggle to just get up out of my sleep and get up out of bed. When I started to feel that difference of like, okay, waking up with energy, waking up feeling good, and my day would end up going even better because now I'm well rested and my body
Right.
feels good, and I'm not and I know that I'm going to get more rest later that night. It was a total difference compared to what I used to do, which is just like drag myself out of bed, and that's one of the worst feelings ever to me.
Right. Right. And because all the years of stressing that I did, I actually ended up getting like fibromyalgia. So like in between, I start getting all stressed out and stuff, on life. And like you said, I go, go, go. So my days are like running into each other. Next thing you know, 3 weeks are gone. And it's like, like it can get away from me so fast. And then I sit there and think to myself, like, how did I do that again and get caught up in routine and forget to live? Like, I know better. You know what I mean? Like, I know better than to do that. I know how I'm going to feel whenever I do that. And then comes 9 o'clock at night. It's like, you got to go to bed. And you start getting all stressed out and you're full of anxiety because you took your work day all the way up until bedtime. Now you got to hurry up and go to bed. Then you got to wake up and you got to start all over again. You don't get that. This is such a blessing. I knew it was gonna be because I've been struggling lately. I did really good last year whenever I wasn't working a full-time slot, and then I ended up having to go back into working full time. So I'm working full time, and then evening I'm trying to build a business. And then I'm also trying to parent. And I'm just like, the days are running into each other. It's like 3 weeks go by like it was like 4 days. Like, where'd this time go?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Like everything you're saying, I can relate. I have been there. One of the things that you were talking about as far as like working up until the point of when it's time to go to bed, I used to do that as well. And so what I started implementing, and this may be helpful to you or anyone that's listening, what I started implementing is what's called the wind down period. And so I with my schedule or my daily planner, I figure out, okay, what time am I going to cut off work for the day? And once that time comes, that's when I shut down all computers, I shut down anything work related, and I make sure to do that at least 1 hour, if not more, but at least 1 hour before I go to bed. So therefore, during that hour, me, my body, my mind, and my thoughts can start winding down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it is. Cause I mean, and if I think about too, yeah, like I go into a coma, like I'm out. But at the same time, like how much, like if I really think about it, like from a psychological standpoint, how good of a sleep am I getting? If
Right.
I was like, 75 mile per hour and then all of a sudden down to zero, like, yeah, like I can't be getting that great of a rest, even if I was getting a full night's sleep because you didn't have that slow.
Exactly. Your mind is still going. Even if your
Yeah.
body is laying down,
Hmm.
your mind is still going, your thoughts are still going. Your subconscious is still working.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why a lot of people, even if they get quite a few hours of sleep at night, they'll wake up still feeling exhausted.
Tired. I
Yep.
know. Yeah, I can get that. So what about you help people with co-parenting? And so what about dealing with co-parenting with somebody that doesn't really want to get along?
Yeah. Oh gosh. So that's where a lot of coaching for like the individual who does want to have a productive co-parenting relationship, that's where coaching really, really comes in to really help them because of course we can't control the other person. And
Right.
there are just some relationships out there where one parent is just going to just give you the blues.
Yeah.
They are not going to cooperate. They're going to always want to maybe bring up the past, talk about the emotions, or just be very volatile sometimes.
Yeah.
And with that, you can't control the other person, but what you can control is one, how you allow it to make you feel, and two, how you respond. And that's where coaching really comes into play. I'm also a mediator. So, mediation is very helpful with co parenting situations to just help them to communicate and get out what it is that's keeping them from being able to be calm and to treat each other with respect, and then to move forward with having a productive and a healthy co-parenting relationship. So mediation is something that's really key as well if both people are open to it, but otherwise if it's just the one parent, coaching is something that really will help them learn how to deal with the other parent that's not so cooperative.
Right. I was dealing with that situation for a while, and then I was talking to somebody and they're like, why are you giving him that power to,
Yes.
like, that's not you. Like, that's his vision. Like, he doesn't even know you, really. Like, like he just tacked on his own identity of you. Like, if you know what I mean? And so coaching would help then too with that self-esteem, because once you know who you are, and the person that lies within, and you're strong in that, and it worked too, because the more I started understanding that was him, that wasn't me, that
Yeah.
was him that he was talking to. He wasn't talking to me because I wasn't even the person that he was talking about. Like, that wasn't even who I was. And the more I did that, the less power I gave him. The more I took control, the more I was able to then be like, all right, so this is done. Like, you're not going to talk to me this way. And I was able to take the steps then in order to stop it. And then I was able to communicate in a way where it was, we got to communicate what we got to communicate, but then that's it type of thing, to just put them boundaries up. And then, you start to see at least a dynamic where you can like deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really a fruitful one, but it's not really a rotten one either. It's just this, we're raising a kid together. But so I think the coaching would play a big part in that too.
Absolutely. And that's key. The basically to sum up what you were saying is why that's step number one in my coaching product, self-awareness. And the very next step is self-control. Those two are so critical when it comes to knowing who you are, with learning who you are. So therefore no one else can tell you about you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the dynamic changes then too, because if they know that you're still a victim of that relationship, they're going to treat you in accordance. But once they realize that you're not a victim no more, but you're a victor, they're just going to treat you a little bit differently.
Absolutely. That absolutely.
So tell me about Nrgy Speaks Life.
Yeah, that's the name of my company. So it's basically a personal development company, and it's where I offer keynote speaking services, life and relationship coaching services, and mediation, both civil mediation, but then also family and divorce mediation as well. And it's a play on my name. I believe the proper term is like a double entendre. So it's a play off of my name actually being Nrgy. And so I, Nrgy, am speaking life into people. When I coach people, I'm speaking life into them. But then also energy, just how we understand and know energy to be in its own natural existence. Energy speaks life as well. So that's where the name of the company comes from. But yeah, those services, basically anything personal development, self-improvement, that's pretty much everything that I offer within my company.
Right. And especially with there being so many single parent households modern day, it's very much needed.
It is, and that's where at some point along my journey, I ended up getting coined one of my coins as far as the names. People consider me and call me the single parents coach because I can relate. I've been there, I've done that. I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, the sad, all of those things. And then now I'm on the other side where I can help people come through their single parenting or their co-parenting situations. So, absolutely.
Right. So you're also a relationship coach. So you get people ready then too for like the dating scene to get out and start dating again.
Absolutely. So I get them to the point just before I'm not a dating coach, but yes, a relationship coach. So I'm dealing with people before they start getting back out there in the dating world or on the dating scene, as you mentioned it. In order to have a successful relationship, in my opinion, whether it be personal or professional relationships, then it's all based off of the individual person or the individual people. In order to have successful relationships, people have to be healthy, people have
Yeah.
to be whole, and people have to know those strategies to be effective when it comes to having dialogue, healthy dialogue with others. So when I talk about relationships, yes, it's more, it is personal as well, but then it can also be professional relationships, such as, how do you deal with the dynamics of your work culture? How are you communicating with your coworkers or your employer? Are you finding that you're in situations where it's a lot of conflict? So, but yeah, relationships in general, personal and professional, absolutely.
Right. That's really awesome that you do like relationships with your coworkers and your bosses and stuff like that too.
Yeah, that overlaps with the mediation. So, understanding that, because let's just say for an example, if you have two employees or a manager and an employee, and they're having some sort of dispute, that's when a mediator will come in from the outside, someone like myself, we would come in to help them resolve the dispute, to help figure out what is this conflict and why are you all not able to resolve it on your own. So having a mediator come in can really help with the communication and
Oh,
with making
wow.
sure that things are being handled appropriately and fairly, whatever fair looks like. I try not to use that term, but
Yeah.
appropriately. Yeah. So mediation and or your relationships with your coworkers, all of this overlaps. Everything that I do, it's using the same skills, the same mindset, the same techniques. It's just labeled differently depending on the area or the industry.
Right. Um, I've heard it spoken of often. I've seen it play out through my life that if you have yet to heal from your past, you'll see that in repetitive cycles in everybody, like not everybody that you meet, but there's going to be these cycles that come up where they're going to keep showing up and showing up. Like I had daddy issues. So these daddy issues have showed up in female coworkers' faces. Like these daddy issues have showed up in supervisors. These daddy issues have showed up in, relationships that I picked. They've showed like these daddy issues of just like in cycles. Like it'll calm down for a little bit, and then all of a sudden somebody's going to show up. She might have red hair, he might have a different color eyes, but it's still like, oh, there he is again.
Oh my gosh, yes. We're going to deal with the same type of person until we heal the issue of whatever it is that we're holding on to or whatever that hurt us. And that's why coaching is very helpful, but in some cases, therapy is necessary. If it's something that's just really deeply rooted and it goes way back to like your childhood, and let's just say if you're a 30, 40, 50-year-old adult at this point and you're still kind of dealing with that, therapy is going to be one of the best tools that you can use. And then maybe coupling that with coaching eventually once you kind of get further into the process, because
Yeah.
absolutely we will continue to repeat those things that we do not fix or that we do not get healed from.
Right. And you don't even know that that's where you're at most often. Like, cause like all those years of depression and just being in bad relationships and dealing with bad circumstances, like I just thought that my life just was horrible. Like, like I just thought like I have the worst luck. Like, why do I have such bad luck until like somebody awakened me to the understanding, like, you're doing that. You're creating that world. And then I was like, whoa, like that makes sense. Like I'm never looking at anything positive. Why would anything positive come to me? Why would I feel positive on the inside if I'm not thinking anything positive? Um, but in regard to like the therapy, like I tried the therapy back whenever I was like actively in that depression. And it was like they would take me back into the trauma, and then they would sit me down there and they would say, well, I'll see you next week. And so I speak about this often with people, is that you really need to have like a community or somebody to talk to or something in the meantime, because if you're dealing with this on your own and then you're going to therapy and they're dropping you off at 5 years old whenever you're broken and beaten, like you need to have like somebody there to walk with you while you're going through that as well. You know what I mean? And so I honestly think that coaching really changed my life, learning it, and going through it as well. But also, like, I think that's the issue, is that, everybody wants the quick fix and they're hoping therapy will fix them. And I'm not knocking depression medication, although I don't believe in it. I don't think it ever worked for me at the least. And then the doctors give them that. And I'm so glad that coaching's becoming more and more mainstream, because whenever I went through the coaching program, people were like, what is a coach? And like, still a lot of people in society have no idea that there is a such thing as coaches. And it's just like, you know, how beautiful it is that there's that extra resource available.
Yes, yes, yes. Coaching, one of the things that I suggest for some people, of course, depending on what they're dealing with, and making sure that it's nothing that needs to have a licensed clinical professional to kind of watch them going through their process. That's why I always say, if you're going through therapy, couple that with coaching,
Yeah,
because in those
absolutely.
moments, yes, in those moments, just like you described, and that hurts my heart when it happens, because it happens too often, when
Yeah,
people are going through therapy and they're in a session, the session is ending, and they've been,
yeah.
like you said, left in that 5-year-old body,
Oh,
that
yeah.
5-year-old mindset, and then now they're expected to get in a car, go home, and continue, with their
Yeah,
life,
that
raising their
wasn't
kids, working.
happening.
It's like you balance that out with supplemental support. Get a coach, because a coach, we focus on forward movement
Future.
progress. We
Yeah,
focus on putting you back in control of your life. And
right.
that's the key that will help you continue to move forward with whatever it is that you're dealing with as you're getting help with the therapist. It gives you that power back. So therefore you're
Yeah,
not feeling like, man, life is just terrible. Like,
right.
no, 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 no. You have control over how life is happening. You
Yeah,
just have to learn the tools and the keys and the strategies of how to actually be very intentional with making things happen the way that you want.
right. It's bringing you back into the present reality, being
Yep.
future focused. Like, you know, like you have so much potential. Like, I get that you went through all that, but you have so much potential right now that came from that. It came
Abs.
from that.
That's right. I love it.
Yeah. So, how can we find you? How can we find you?
You can, if you just do a simple Google search of my name, Nrgy, maybe put coach in it, actually, because there are some shoe companies and some actual engineering type of companies who have
Right.
Nrgy. So if you just search Coach Energy, then you'll find me. But otherwise, the best place is to my website. As my name says, Energy Speaks Life, the name of my company, energyspeakslife.com. That's where you can connect with me, find all the different ways of how you can reach me. I am also on Facebook and Instagram at Coach Energy or Energy Speaks Life. Any of those combinations, you will be able to find me, because as you can tell, my name is pretty unique. So, but my website is
Yeah.
the best place to go to.
Right. I'll be sharing the links down below as well. So,
Awesome. Thank you.
well, thank you so much for your time and thank you for blessing me with your wisdom.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. And it's been such a pleasure.
All right. Have a good night. All
You as well.
right. Bye.
Bye.
Again, if you like this podcast, please hit subscribe because we have a new and awesome guest coming up every week and I don't want you to miss out. God bless. I'll see you next time. Bye.